Sarah Boone, March 22nd, 2023 letter to Frank Bankowitz. This was again CC to the judge. So really, she's writing to let the judge know, not really to communicate with Bankowitz. Mr. Bankowitz, no dear. Mr. Bankowitz, this is my third letter trying to reach you over another almost 6 week period now. That's a lot of letters. Okay. The same two phone numbers you've given me. Oh, she has two phone numbers now. Still do not work. The one number, your personal cell, goes to voicemail directly because it's, you know, at the bottom of the river or something. Ah, I'm joking. And doesn't even ring. I have a friend who's a defense attorney. He's very, very busy. And he never bothered with a cell phone. He didn't even bother getting a fax machine back in the day. Anyway, everybody's got cell phones, so his assistant said to him, "Look, you need to get a cell phone." So he did, and it sits in his desk drawer off, and people call it, and it goes to voicemail. And about once a month, his assistant says to him, "Hey, have you checked your messages on your cell phone lately?" And he says, "Oh, yeah, I forgot." So he'll pull it out of the drawer, and most of the messages on there, whatever they were, the issue is long since passed. And he throws it back in the drawer and says, "This thing is useless." So, I mean, you can't expect an attorney to just answer his personal phone every time you want to call. One number goes to voicemail and doesn't even ring. Since you personally gave it to me, hey, you gave this to me and you failed. Not working still 8 months later. The other number rings and rings and rings until it automatically disconnects me. Huh, wonder why there's no voicemail. I mean, if it's an office number, right? Not working either. This is also the number you continuously tell me. Well, if he's continuously telling her something, he must be communicating with her somehow, right? So is this a matter of, hey, look, when I call, I want you to jump and you better answer? Obviously, he's talking to her because he's continuously telling her something. All right. You continuously tell me it just needs to be activated. Please activate. I, even in my desperation to speak with you, had an outside caller try to reach you on my behalf, who tried calling your office 3 times over the last almost 3 weeks. Oh boy, so she's dragging everybody else in. Leaving a voicemail each time. So that other person was able to leave a voicemail. Why couldn't Sarah? I wonder. Okay, anyway, leaving a voicemail each time with no reply. Well, you know what? What would happen? Like, Bankowitz and his staff can't talk to some third party about Sarah's case. They can't say anything at all. Like, they don't know who that is. If I phoned up Bankowitz's office and said, "Hi, I'm a friend of Sarah Boone's and she wants to know XYZ," if he tells me anything, he's in big trouble. You can't, there's client confidentiality. You just can't blab to somebody who calls and claims to be somebody or claims to be acting on behalf of your client. They they can't talk to this person. Tried your office 3 times. We're both hoping you're able to reply to her email. Okay, she sent today as another form of trying to communicate with you. I've exhausted my resources and am again, underlined, just sitting here waiting for you to contact me in whatever way you are able and as soon as possible, please. Well, yeah, as soon as possible. That's how she wants everything. Do you remember in the 911 call? So we learned later that she didn't try CPR. She delayed calling 911. She wanted a drink and a smoke first. She talked to Brian on the phone. She was waiting for Brian to come over. And Brian said, "Have you called 911 yet?" And she says, "No." She hadn't. So she's delaying. She's not doing CPR and she's not calling 911. She's delaying. But on the phone with 911, she's telling them, "Well, hurry." So it's about her timing, and she wants what she wants when she wants it. I shouldn't be so harsh, maybe. She is in custody. This is a big deal. Time sensitive matters are at hand, as I have made you aware of previously, verbally and in my letters. What time sensitive matters would there be? I mean, if this is something that we don't already know about, then we actually shouldn't know. If this is something she's communicating with her lawyer, I mean, really, we shouldn't be able to see any of these letters. These are letters between a lawyer and client. So we shouldn't be able to see them at all, except that she went and CC'd them to the judge. And so that's why we're seeing them, because they get scanned in. So time sensitive matters. What is really time sensitive in terms of legally? So if he has deadlines, if he has to get in touch with experts, all these other things, then he's going to be quite aware of what needs to happen when. Lawyers get very good at very quickly figuring out what you need to hurry up on and get moving on and what can wait. They have to be good at managing that time like that because they're so busy. So, I mean, we don't know if time sensitive matters, if it's truly time sensitive, or if it's just her being her saying, I want what I want when I want it. I know you have attempted to schedule the minimum 15-minute video calls within the last week. Huh. Did they make an agreement on how often he would talk to her? I wonder. That's kind of what this sounds like. Well, in order to make the agreement, he or his office would have had to have communicated with her. The first having technical difficulties and canceled, and the second was a no show. No shows are bad. It can happen. Sometimes a lawyer will make an appointment and there's something going on at court and the judge keeps them. So it's not always it's bad if you're the client and and your lawyer is a no-show for a meeting, especially if you're in custody, they have to make arrangements. It's not like you can just pop in on your coffee break or something, right? So they have to make arrangements to do these video calls. So it can be really frustrating if you're a client and you've been waiting and now's your chance to talk to your lawyer and he's not there. But that doesn't mean the lawyer was flippant or callous or necessarily even forgot. If a judge is keeping you in court, you can't just walk out. So we don't know what happened. We don't know why. I mean, it could be his fault. It might not be. We don't know why. What it seems to be is every time on your end, whatever the disconnect is, I am extremely frustrated and worried not being able to communicate with you, even just sometimes, especially when there are very important, pressing discussions needing to be had already, but have not from no means of successful communication. We know they have communicated. What she thinks is pressing and important might be very different from what actually is pressing and important. Sometimes clients will call and say, "Oh, this thing is really important. You have to know this thing. I have to tell you this thing." And it's something that is either not relevant or not admissible or might even hurt their defense or the lawyer already knows. So it's sometimes difficult for the client to understand that no, that's not how it works. People get used to interacting in a particular way and are shocked when it comes time to go to court because You can't gaslight. You can't just impose your narrative and tell people, no, no, don't listen to this. Or, that neighbor, they're nasty, so, don't listen to them because they're just not likable people. That's not going to work in court. Rumors don't work, all that stuff. So we don't know if what she's calling pressing and important is or isn't. So we can't really judge that. But certainly the lawyer knows what is pressing and what isn't. The other thing I know is that Mr. Bankowitz, at one point years ago, was publicly reprimanded. So this is out of his whole career. This is once he was publicly reprimanded for not communicating adequately with a specific client. And we don't know what happened. It was in respect to a post conviction matter. We don't know why he didn't adequately communicate with that client. The other thing we don't know is whether or not he said, "Oh, yeah, you know what? I messed up. I did it, right? Like I messed up. I failed this client. Crap." And he took his lumps, or whether he argued about it or what, right? But we do know there was a reprimand back then, and that's public. Well, Sarah would know that too. And think about her history of telling on people. Oh, this guy's here illegally. Or making allegations that George did something to her. Now, George did do things to her. There's no question about that. And I know people get mad at me for saying that, but I don't pick the facts. They are what they are. And the fact is, he was violent toward her. That's true. And she was violent toward him. We also know that there was at least one time when she was violent to him and he acted in self defense. The police know this. This is on record. And he responded to like get her off of him, and he got charged. So we know that happened. And then ultimately the police figured out because Sarah couldn't describe the incidents, much like she couldn't describe how Mr. Torres gotten into the suitcase. So we know that she lies, that she uses the system against people. So if she knows that Bankowitz got publicly reprimanded on a communication issue, and we know, she wants, if she wants to talk to somebody, that's what she wants. If she wants anything, that's what she wants. But even with the detectives, she went in there. She was on the day she was going to be arrested. I mean, she didn't know she was going to be arrested. But she went in there with a list of questions. And they weren't even questions appropriate to the police, but, everybody's her personal assistant. I remember thinking at the time, like, is she going to ask them to pick up her dry cleaning? Just keep in mind that she knows he's been in trouble. And here she is. So by this time, she knows these letters are public. These letters are made public. And she's really writing to the judge. So I think she's leveraging that knowledge and making sure that everybody knows that he's failed, that he's not good enough, because she has to be the victim and everybody else has to be wrong. Technical difficulties, always on your end, extremely frustrated and worried. You know what? I think she is worried, and I think that's where a lot of this is coming from. So not being able to communicate with you. And I also think that she doesn't, when she says communicate, I think what she really means is she wants reassurance, and she wants to tell people what to do. I imagine that she's trying very hard to direct everything, and that's different from giving instructions to your lawyer. Some people try and direct and micromanage. I mean, you hire a lawyer for a reason, right? Because they know how to do it and you don't. No means of successful communication. But he's told her continuously which number to use. I think the not having successful communication is successful by her definition, which might be, when I call you, you jump. Why do the phone numbers to still not work? You've given me over 8 months ago and you keep telling me to call. How does he tell her to call? How does he keep telling her to call if there's no communication? Neither work and have yet to be answered. Why are you not responding to any of my letters? 3 so far this year. By now, given the letter in October, that office should have realized, like, we have to at least let her know, hey, we got your letter and this is the answer. However, I mean, they may be responding in some manner and we just don't know. That's the other thing. Mr. Bankowitz cannot publicly defend himself with all this. So she knows that he had a reprimand in his past. She knows, like, the public doesn't know what really went down there. Didn't rise to the level so seriously that the guy was disbarred or anything. So she knows that. She knows this is public. She's basically writing to the judge. Everybody hears her narrative. And Mr. Bankowitz cannot come out and publicly defend himself. Much like, do you remember when she was messing with witnesses at the scene? While detectives were investigating at the scene, Sarah went around to other witnesses and was giving them a story. And the story wasn't everything was fine. The story was that recently that Mr. Torres had hurt her, and so she's saying these negative things about somebody who can't defend himself. She also said, yeah, we were playing hide and seek to those witnesses, but that's one of her tactics. She runs around giving her narratives. Before detectives could even notify Mr. Torres's family, she pulled them aside and told them this, I'm afraid for my life, and painted them as these scary people. During her interrogation, she even started to set up how she could end up accusing the detectives. Chelsea caught on to that and she called it out right away.
You're making it sound like we're going to tell them something, so then your life is in danger, and I don't like that accusation. No. So let's just nip that in the butt right now.
Well, that's what's going to happen.
I think that in reading, in deciding, is this the case that this lawyer is so terrible that he's not communicating with his client? I think we have to keep in mind who she's writing to, her past history, her behavior, the tactics that she's used in the past, the fact that she is a proven liar, and it's established that she skims over facts, she equivocates, she hides time, she hides facts, she doesn't accept facts that don't serve her, and she has no problem telling on someone or using the system. Like when she told the detectives about, well, that witness that said something about me that I don't like, well, guess what? They're illegal. So we have to keep all this in mind because I know people are saying, oh, well, this lawyer should talk to her more. Well, you know what? If what Sarah is saying is true, yeah, he should talk to her more. But none of us are in that office. None of us know what other pressing matters there are. He has other clients. We don't know if the discussions are necessary or not. I mean, you do talk to your clients, and even if there's nothing to say, just to say, hey, you know what, I got no update for you. There's nothing has changed. Why are you not responding to any of my letters? Why are you unable to correctly set up a video call? Wow. You are so inept, so stupid. I can't understand why you're unable to correctly do this. If you are even on the call, so he was a no-show one time, but here we go. Please know, even though I am temporarily an inmate and incarcerated, I do have a schedule with classes, dorm trustee duties, and medical appointments, which I have to be excused from for nothing. On the one hand, I understand her frustration, and there's a part of me that wants to say, "Oh, come on, really, really, your schedule is so busy." It's just who she is. Her schedule, her routine, what she wants is more important than anything else. Even at this scene, her order of priority, what was important to her was what she needed and wanted in the moment. It didn't matter that police and fire and paramedics, that other people had a whole lot of really important pressing things that they needed to do at the scene, that her boyfriend had died. Her priority was herself, and it's always been that way. And her priority in all these letters is her. And fair enough, at this point, she is incarcerated. So, yeah. And he's her lawyer. So, yeah, it's pretty, what she wants is pretty important. But, my schedule. While I'm in jail, my schedule. Please fix the connection problem. Big capital letters. So did she do that before? Yeah, not work. She's basically yelling at him. Every time she does that, there are certain images of her that just pop into my head. Remember to please, I'm just back to the starting line, barely with you as my attorney, and I've yet to be able to even speak to you on the phone. How is, but this is not true. Wait a minute, do I have these mixed up? This is March 2023. Didn't she get him last summer? And we just looked at a letter where she had like a 90-minute in person. It was obvious that they had communicated several times. So what is this? What is it? I've yet to be able to even speak to you on the phone. Is this one of her? Oh, well, I spoke to you by video and I spoke to you in person, but I haven't spoken to you on the phone. And so is this her way of saying technically she's telling the truth? I don't know. We know there's been communication. And the other thing is that he's going to have to, when he makes his timesheets and everything, all that stuff has to go down there. How long he talked to a client, when he wrote a letter, whatever he did on the file, right? I am genuinely concerned with the numerous promises you have made and even suggested yourself that will or can be done, but they do not yet. But they do not. So I don't know what he's promised. I need your help, and you have graciously offered to. But when? I'm assuming this is about the case and not something else. And, here's the sucking up to him. She gives him crap, tells him he failed, sucks up to him. This is the same as the last letter. I'm guessing this is her pattern with people. I'm going to be really nice to you, but, I can turn in a second and be nasty. I think that's who she is. My pretrial conference, I found out, is now March 31st. That's come and gone. Which you said previously, for whatever the reason, I'm unable to attend any of these conferences. How am I supposed to know what's going on and what you're reporting and what is being discussed between all other parties except me, the main component in my case? She has a right to know what's going on. She has a right to participate. So that's fair. Sometimes lawyers will say, well, you know what, you don't need to be at this appearance because nothing really is going to happen. Uh, but some clients don't, they don't want to listen to that. They want to go. And okay, it's a pain in the butt to get somebody to make arrangements, get somebody transported, and they go and the hearing is 10 minutes or less, 1 minute, and then boom, they have to be transported back. So some guys don't even like to come over for the hearings. for those kinds. But she has a right to say this. There's sort of a hidden suggestion here, like, well, how do I know what's going on? Because now I have to rely on what you report to me. Does she not trust what he's saying to her? Does she think he's lying? We, in a still unestablished attorney-client relationship, are not in regular or proper communication with one another. Well, this is March. I think the attorney client relationship is established. And again, this is a question of what she thinks that means or what that should look like versus what it is. Not in regular or proper communication. What she views as proper, I don't know. She's dancing around. She says by phone, but we know they talked by video and in person. And so I think she's being very specific about what she says. So couldn't get you by phone. I can't talk to you on the phone. You never talk to me on the phone. Kind of skips over and ignores the times he talked to her in person, the time he talked to her via video, the letters, the times she spoke with an assistant, all that stuff. I'm suspicious that that's what she's doing, sort of picking her words and skipping over what's actually happened or making it sound in a particular way. If there's a problem here, though, if there's truly a problem, she has legal remedy. So, and that's another question. So, why isn't she doing that through those channels? Like, why isn't she requesting a remedy for that or making filing a complaint? Instead, she's making it very public. Why can I not be in attendance? All capital letters. And participate in my pretrial conference. She wants to be kept updated in real time. She can. I understand what she's saying. Actually, I have no way of knowing anything if not updated by you, my attorney. I'm letting you know it's all you. And I do not have a computer to use view myself. Oh, I thought they had access to computers. I did not know that. Help me understand, please. How can court TV, different news channels, and even professional YouTubers, oh boy, attend my pretrial conference and I cannot? Actually, that's a fair question. How? I'm sure one of the other parties can help me with updates since they will all be in attendance. Oh, the sarcasm, eh? For me also, should you be unable to provide. Ooh. She's suggesting, hey, bud, if you're not going to talk to me, I'm just going to phone up Court TV and get them to give me an update because you're a failure. She's done this all along in this letter and the last one. You failed, you're inadequate, you're not good enough, you're not a man. I'm guessing she treats the men in her life like this. Seems to be a pattern here. Why can I not be included? Fair. That's fair, actually. I'm sure also everything from the conference collected from everyone else will be vomited all over the internet, just like everything else has been, non permissively, unintentional, non permissively. What did she say before? Oh, no malicious. Whose permission does everybody require? Hers? And vomit it all over the internet. Man, when you do something wild and public, and then you write letters and make them public, right? You send them to the court so that they're filed and uploaded. Like, what do you expect? And can add even more dysfunction and ignorance to my prejudgment already made by the world in the great court of public opinion. So, yeah, you know what? It is dysfunctional. Like this whole, when I say it, I mean what happened is is wild. I mean, that's why everybody's so interested. Like, how, she did what? What happened? So, I mean, her life is dysfunctional. The way she responds is dysfunctional. Wherever she goes, she brings chaos with her. It's like watching a train wreck. Ignorance to my prejudgment. Okay, let's address the prejudgment because really, in some ways, yeah, you know what? Fair enough. She is innocent unless and until proven guilty in a court of law, not a court of public opinion. So prejudgment isn't fair. However, my opinion or your opinion, or I don't know, the anchors on court TV, or anybody else, any member of the public making expressing an opinion about what happened based on the evidence that we do know about, and recognizing, we don't know everything, right? I'm really interested in the Emmys report. I'm very interested in what we're going to hear at trial. So, yeah, we all understand we don't know everything. We can only base opinions on the facts available, and the evidence has not been tested in court. And that's why it's so important to be in a proper court of law so that both sides get to present evidence and that evidence can be tested properly. And there are rules about admissibility, and there are rules about what you can argue. In the court of public opinion, anybody can just say any old thing, right? Like you can just make up anything. Like, wasn't there are tabloids like that, the things in the grocery store, like I gave birth to aliens. So people can say anything. Here's the difference though. What a member or many members of the public think has no bearing on whether or not she is ultimately found guilty or not guilty. It's not going to affect her sentence if she's found guilty. So, you know, it doesn't matter what anybody says, whether it's correct or incorrect or ignorant or not ignorant. It doesn't matter because there's going to be a trier of fact and law in a court. And she's saying this. She doesn't like the prejudgment. She's complaining about the court of public opinion, and the court of public opinion is terrible. At the same time, she, I mean, she is in writing this letter, she's in the process of writing a demeaning, derogatory letter about her lawyer, right? Even though it's addressed to her lawyer, she knows that it's going to go to the judge. She knows it's going to be made public. The first one as to whether or not that being made public, whether she knew that or not, is debatable. Here, by March 22nd, she knows it's going to be public. And Mr. Benkowitz cannot defend himself. So she is making allegations about him and purposely putting them in the court of public opinion. And so not only is she getting her victim status, and he's so bad, getting that out there, her version, her narrative, her facts of choice, right, that have not been tested, putting those in the public opinion, in the court of public opinion. And Mr. Benkowitz cannot participate in that court. Mr. Benkowitz cannot defend himself in that court of public opinion. Now, I'm not saying that he did or didn't do anything right or wrong, because the fact of the matter is, I don't know. None of us knows. He's not allowed to tell us. So if she really wants this dealt with, she can take other legal remedy and put that in a proper court of law or through proper channels and seek legal remedy in respect to her lawyer and how she's dissatisfied, and in a manner where he can respond, where the evidence is tested, So she can make her allegations. This is when I talked to him. He was a no-show on this day. These phone numbers don't work. I sent X number of letters. Whatever the allegations are that she's making. But then he would have an ability to come back because they keep logs of calls. They keep records of documents and all the communications with clients. He can come back and say, here are the records that show, yeah, no, we didn't have a phone call that day because we had a video call. Or we didn't have a phone call that day because we arranged to have, boundaries around communications. Or we did adequately communicate. And then he can say his side. But she's not doing that. She's putting that in the court of public opinion when Mr. Bankowitz can't respond. But don't anybody in the public make an opinion about her. I would like to be a part of all this, seeing as it all pertains to me. Yeah, fair. Please, it is my right. Yep, that's fair. So many questions, concerns piling and piling up from not being able to remedy or complete from no communication. Okay, I could be wrong. I'll just preface with that. I could be wrong. It looks to me like she's anxious. She's used to being in control, and now she can't be. And she's maybe ruminating and thinking, and so she has questions. And so she wants, I mean, it's her personality. She wants the questions answered right away. She wants to know what's going to happen right away. And she did it at the scene. She was told to go sit down, and there was another, she kept getting up, and so there was another officer near her, and he was just talking to her, and she said, well, I need to, something like, I need to know what's going to happen, what's going on. That's how I work. And so it sounds like she has anxiety. She needs to know what's going to happen, and she can't get the answers at the moment that she needs them to make herself feel better. And so that's going to be really stressful for her. And so then they pile up, and I bet you she ruminates about all that stuff. But the reality is, no matter, I mean, even if she was Mr. Bankowitz's only client, you can't, I mean, there's nobody that you can just phone up anytime. I mean, maybe your kids, right? But you can't just phone them up at any time and then expect them to drop everything to answer your questions because you have some anxiety. You tell the client, or you write the questions down, and I'll talk to you once a week, or whatever you've agreed upon, right? And then you ask me all the questions. But I think she has these questions, and she gets anxious, and she doesn't know how to deal with it. I think that's what's part of what's going on here. Could be wrong. Please change, answer, fix, or present. Or maybe she means present, like to be there. Everything you have given me to complete has been done on top of everything else. Oh, okay. So again, this is another indication that he has been communicating with her. He's given her jobs to do. Okay. The reason I'm laughing about this is because sometimes you get a client who's very high maintenance, and or they need to be in control, or they need to feel like they're doing something, or that they're helping, and it's good. You want clients to participate in their own well-being, whether you're doing threat assessment, whether you're doing victim service, therapy, law, whatever it is, you want them to participate. Sometimes they're so over the top that you end up giving them jobs to do, even like jobs that you actually don't need being done, just to make them feel like they're doing something, um, to keep them occupied so they're not phoning you every 20 minutes. So I'm laughing because that maybe happened here. On top of everything else, big capital letters. I am dealing with. Keeping at bay. Oh, and really trying to figure out by myself everything else I'm dealing with. Yeah, she's in custody. She has this thing hanging over her head. She's obviously got some level of anxiety. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, so I can't diagnose her with anxiety, but it really looks like that. In any case, she's definitely anxious. And I think even for somebody who doesn't already have any level of anxiety, having your whole future in somebody else's hands and having a charge like that hanging over your head and being incarcerated, it is a lot to deal with. And she's saying keeping at bay. And my first thought was, yeah, it's the anxiety she's trying to keep at bay. However, it may be other things that she's trying to keep at bay. I don't know. Since you are unable to, just by answering the phone once, you can't even just answer the phone. She's so condescending. I don't know what else to say that has not already many times. Did I read that right? I don't know what else to say. That has not already many times. She means that she's already said or that has already been said. Okay, well, if what you're doing isn't working, you should do something else. She's not seeking legal remedy if these complaints are legitimate. She's just going to badger him and tell on him to the judge and tell on him to the public in a forum where he can't actually defend himself. I'm still here, still waiting, still hoping. Yeah. 3 years later and counting. With you, Mr. Bankowitz, 8 months and counting. Ready whenever you are. Does she think he hasn't done anything? Trying my best always and thanking you in advance. Baloney, sincerely. Oh, no, it's not sincere. This is really to the judge and to the public. That is really what that is about. I think that she's playing a game here. I think she's intentionally wanting to let the public know that she is the victim once again. And Mr. Bankowitz is just so bad. Even within this letter, it's clear he has communicated with her. As for whether that communication is adequate, none of us knows that. None of us actually can know that. That can be addressed properly. This is not the way to do it, but she knows that. Sarah is being Sarah, volatile, demanding, demeaning, lying. So covering up facts and telling on somebody and using the court of public opinion while she demands that court of public opinion judge other people but not her. That's it. Thank you for watching.